Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Sunday Cooking Day. I'm going to be doing two recipes today. They're both, well, they're both fairly simple. One is a little bit more labor intensive than the other, but I think you'll find they're both very tasty. The first recipe I'm going to do is cranberry sauce, and I was going to do that, if you remember, I think it was the beginning of this month or the end of October, and I couldn't find any cranberries in the store, so we had to wait. They're there now, and so I thought, some people had said, could you please show the cranberry sauce anyway? And so I thought, well, I'll zip that in today. And so we're going to make some homemade whole berry cranberry sauce, and I will explain as I'm going along. You don't have to have whole berry. You can make it less whole berry or even just jellied, but I will explain that as we get busy cooking it. And the second recipe is a recipe that is a New England, I guess you would say, and not staple, because I don't think all those people do it, but it is a Thanksgiving staple from the first Thanksgiving. And a little story behind it. When the Pilgrims arrived here in the new land, they had some provisions with them, and they had a lot of tough times ahead of them. And when it came time to give thanks for the getting to the new land and making it through till the next fall, they wanted to have a feast. And so they wanted to have a feast, and they wanted to have something that reminded them of home, which was home meaning England. So when they wanted the dessert, in England they would have, for celebrations and things, something called hasty pudding. And hasty pudding is basically a wheat flour based pudding. I think it is boiled with milk and spices and so on and so forth. But wheat flour was very short supply in the New World. And so they wanted to still have this pudding, but they didn't know exactly what to do, and decided that they were going to use what was called Indian flour, Indian meal. And the Indian meal is similar to what we know today as cornmeal, because maize, okay, was very plentiful, and they ground it down. Now, it's not corn flour. They didn't have the mechanisms to do large batches of flour. I mean, that takes a lot of grinding, but they made the corn meal, and so they decided to make their hasty pudding using cornmeal. So this is basically a cornmeal molasses pudding. Sorry, my stove just preheated. The sweetening in this is primarily molasses. And so it's cornmeal, molasses, and milk, and spices. And it creates a not very pretty pudding. It's sort of like a mud-colored pudding because of the molasses and the cornmeal. But it is so, so tasty. So I'm going to show you how to make Indian pudding as served. Not exactly. It's been tweaked many times over the decades, but in fact, another note is that they sometimes made this same pudding as a savory pudding, not sweet. So they would, I don't know how they made it savory. I didn't look that up. I'm sure I could find that information, but we're making the sweet one, and that's what it's come to be known as a sweet dessert. And this is great served warm. And you serve it with either whipped cream or vanilla ice cream. But it's also something that's great because you can make it ahead of time. You can make it 2 or 3 days ahead of time, because you know everything is taken up cook-wise on Thanksgiving. Hold on, let me get the phone. Okay, so where was I before I was so rudely interrupted by an 800 number that I didn't answer in the first place, because it's probably some kind of scam. So anyway, we're going to make the dessert. I was saying how it's served, and you can make it ahead of time, and it's very simple to just take out and take a serving or two and zap it in the microwave for a little bit to warm it up and serve it with your ice cream. So I'm going to take you down to the counter and we're going to kind of list and show you what all is included in Indian pudding. Be right back. Okay, here we are down at the stove, and this is how simple this is to make. I have my pan heating here. I'm going to add 1 bag of cranberries that I've rinsed. I guess my pan is hot. 1 cup of orange juice. Now you can use orange juice, cranberry juice, apple juice, or even water. Now the recipe called for a cup of sugar. I'm going to go with 2/3 of a cup of sugar. It also said about 1/8 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, so I'm just going to throw in just a little taste here. Okay. Now I'm also going to add a little bit of orange zest, which is totally optional. Just gives it a little deeper flavor. And that's all she wrote. Now we're going to cook this. And once it comes to a boil, these cranberries will start popping. And when they pop, that's when they let out the cranberry juice. And they'll soften up nicely. Might switch to a wooden spoon here. And this is how easy it is to make cranberry sauce. And you can add pieces of orange to it. You can add a can of mandarin oranges to it. You can add sliced apples to it if you want to change up the taste. But this is just good the way it is. Let me get this up to a boil and I'll be right back. Okay, we're almost to a boil, and I don't know if you'll be able to pick it up, but you can hear them start to pop. But you will see little blips every so often. Here's one, and that's the cranberries popping open. I haven't got it quite to a rolling boil yet. Okay, I would say it's starting to boil. So what I'm going to do is set the timer for 5 minutes, and we're going to boil this for 5 minutes, stirring it. And you can see already, you see some of them are burst open. Now it's quite liquidy, but when these berries burst open, they release pectin. And pectin is what you buy to thicken your jellies and things when you're canning them or making them, if the fruit you're using doesn't have enough natural pectin. So this is going to release enough pectin that as it cools, it will get thicker. When it's first done, it's very liquidy. But I'm going to leave them whole berry. And if you actually wanted just plain jellied cranberry sauce, you want to cook these down till they're really good and soft and everything is popped open. And then what you would do is put them through a fine mesh strainer, strain out all of the juice, and leave the cranberries behind. And you'd end up with a jellied cranberry sauce. There you go. I'm not going to squish it anymore. Let me get that off my hand. It would be sticky. Look how nice and thick that's getting. And we're almost there. Matter of fact, I'm going to turn it off. And there goes the timer. And that's all she wrote. Now I'll leave it to cool for a couple of hours probably. And it will get nice and thick as it cools. No taste test on this. Molten cranberries. So, okay. So that's how easy it is to make cranberry sauce. Nothing to it. And once you've tasted homemade cranberry sauce, you'll never really want to buy that stuff in the can again. Okay, hang in there. I'm coming back with recipe number 2. Be right back. Okay, I have a pot preheating here, and let me just show you some of the ingredients. You're going to need 3 cups of milk, 1/3 cup of cornmeal, and those are the 2 that are going to go together in the beginning. I have 3 tablespoons of sugar, 1 egg that I have beaten just a little bit, and the spices. And the spices are half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg and ginger, no, 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg and ginger, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Okay? Then we have, and I'm not going to pick it up, it's right there, 1/4 of a cup of molasses. And I have a 1 1/2 quart dish that I have buttered. And you could spray it, but you want the buttery taste, so we buttered it. My oven has been preheated to 275. This is a low and slow type of cook. So I'm going to start by adding this milk to the pan. And we're just going to bring it up to a simmer. Okay, we're getting pretty close to a simmer here. All right, it's starting to simmer. So I'm going to add in the cornmeal and whisk it in. Okay, I'm going to turn it down. This wants to stay at a low boil for 15 minutes, stirring frequently. So I've turned it down to about 5 right now. I had it on 8. And we'll see if this cools down. You know, with an electric stove, it just doesn't cool down immediately. So we'll keep it moving around so it doesn't burn onto the bottom. Okay, I am going to call this ready. It says you want to do it till it's slightly thickened like a pancake batter. And that does look like that to me. It's actually been about 11 minutes. So we're going to take it off the heat. And I'm going to lift you up a bit. I'm going to add my spices and sugar. And my molasses, carefully. Now I'm going to take a little of this liquid and temper this egg. Now I shall pour the egg in the bowl. One last ingredient that I forgot to tell you is a couple of tablespoons of butter. So, whoops, we're going to whisk those in. All right, into the bowl. Oh, we did good. Nothing burned onto the bottom. Give this just a little shush here. So this is what she looks like. Okay, it's going to go in the 275-degree oven for 2 hours. So now you can go away and come back later. I'll see you when it's ready to come out. Well, here we are back, hours later. but only seconds for you. I want to show you, this is the cranberry sauce. It filled this nice pint canning jar with this much left over in this little dish here, which I think I'll use for dinner, but I'll give you a taste test. Very good. Very good. Now, I must admit I tasted it a little earlier and I thought it needed a little bit more sugar, so I added another tablespoon. And this is fine because the berries are quite tart. But you taste the cranberries, and I also get an orange taste too, so that's good. So I will put this in, this has been in the refrigerator. I'll put it back. We'll use this on Thanksgiving, and if what's left, I'll put it in the freezer, and then we'll take it out another time. Now, here's the Indian pudding. Isn't that attractive? But you give you a taste test on that. And I didn't put any ice cream or anything on. Oh my goodness. I was only going to have one bite, but I'll have two. Delicious. So that's what's for dessert tonight, let alone Thanksgiving. Now I cooked mine a good 2 hours and I let it set. Ooh, the dish is still hot. I let it set for half an hour, and you can see it comes out like a souffle. Now there's liquid in the bottom. I think that's just the butter. And it sinks way down. It comes out like a souffle. It's all puffed up and shaky, shaky, shaky. And then as you let it set, it sinks down and makes pudding. So there you go. 2 recipes. Run right out and get them made. No, but do try it maybe. I'm thinking I need to try this one more time. I could have been a pilgrim. So anyway, I hope you have a great Sunday, and I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. We won't be cooking again until after Thanksgiving. I wonder if I'll do something with turkey. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, there'll only be 2 of us with, oh gosh, a 12 or 14 pound turkey. So I have to come up and be very creative with a few things to use for leftovers. I have some ideas. In the meantime, there goes my clock, right on time. I want you to all stay safe, play by the rules, keep your distance, wash your hands, wear your mask, and everybody, play nice now. And the next time you hear my clock, it'll be playing Christmas songs. See you Tuesday. Love you. Bye-bye.